Hi, my name is Georgina Carney of Sustained Growth Consulting Services. Recently I had an article published by siliconrepublic.com called Mastering Cash Flow in Your Business. I've reposted this article on LinkedIn and this video is an overview of what it contains. The first area I look at is the link between profitability and cash flow and the fact that you can actually have a profitable business model and still experience cash flow problems. So we look at the factors that affect cash flow and what you can do to manage these. I talk about the cash conversion cycle or the working capital cycle, which is how quickly you get cash in from your sales and the impact that this has on your cash flow. We look at how it's measured: debtor days, inventory days, creditor days. I give an example of Amazon.com, who have grown rapidly and organically because they have a negative working capital cycle, which means they get cash in faster than cash goes out. And despite the fact that they have low net profits, they've been able to grow rapidly. So then we look at revenue. Revenue is an obvious factor when you think about cash flow, but I talk about the importance of setting targets and having an actionable sales and marketing plan so that if a target isn't achieved, you can look at what activity happened and compare it to what was supposed to happen and put corrective action in place. I also talk about quality. It might not be something you immediately think of when you think about cash flow, but I think a quality system is extremely important because the cost of rework or poor service on your brand can be very high. We look at costs in general and the importance of justifying every cost, negotiating with suppliers, both on price but also on credit terms, because working capital is so important. I also talk about employees and the cost of employee churn and employee engagement and the impact that that can have, because engaged employees are less likely to leave, they're also likely to be more productive, and that's a positive impact on cash flow. Then in terms of actually managing your cash flow, I talk about cash flow forecasting. I give a suggested template if you don't already have one. Talk about doing it once a month for a rolling 6-month period. Talk about contingency planning and the importance of having a backup plan should you get into difficulties. Then we talk about key performance indicators, or KPIs, and the importance of having KPIs that are reviewed regularly that tie into cash flow. Then we look at creating a cash flow conscious culture, so actually really embedding it into the culture of your organisation. And I give some examples. So an example might be how you analyse expenditure, such as going to an international conference. So let's say 2 to 3 employees are heading off for a 2-day conference in Europe. So you look at all the costs involved, and then you specify the qualitative and quantitative benefits and assess whether it's the benefits outweigh the costs. And I would suggest doing this before, but also doing it afterwards. So the idea is that you're always looking at the benefit versus the cost and ensuring that intended outcomes were actually realised. Another example is linking staff compensation to either cost reduction or a sales increase, so that you would have key performance indicators for the organisation as a whole, but also filter them down to frontline staff and all staff, so that all staff are measured based on how they contribute to the overall organisation objectives. Another example would be tying sales rep commission to sales receipts as opposed to sales made. And one last example might be actually having KPIs displayed. So for example, the debtors days could be displayed in the finance department, and also having written procedures and guidelines as to how those targets are to be achieved. So I hope you find this article helpful. Feel free to share it on LinkedIn, or indeed you can tweet it out. My Twitter handle is @Georgina Carney. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.